Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Megawati and I will present my research proposal with the title The Effect of Using Short Stories on Development of Reading Comprehension of 12th grade students of SMA Negeri 8 Selayar. And I would like to thank you for my advisors, Prof. Muhammad Asfar Rahman, MED, PhD, and Dr. Maimuna Muhayyang, MPD. And also thank you for my examiners, Khairil Anwar Korompot, MA, PhD, and Nurfitri S, SPD, MPD. Chapter 1, Introduction. Part A, Background of the Research. Reading in English is essential because many books, including academic books, magazines, and newspapers, are written in English. Reading can provide us with a wealth of information, entertainment, and even problem solutions. As a result, the ability to read text in any form will provide many benefits in our lives. The researcher observed the students of SMA Negeri 8 Selayar in relation to their reading skill in English class before doing the research. According to the research findings, there are still many 12th grade students with low English reading scores. They can be observed in the average reading score of students. Despite having learned English since elementary school, the students nevertheless have a limited vocabulary. As a result, the majority of students can only read the text without understanding the message. After that, the researcher learned from some SMA Negeri 8 Selayar students that reading was a boring activity. The researcher is interested in developing students' reading comprehension with short stories. The researcher wants to know if using a short story can cause ability when reading a student story. To learn more, the researcher would like to conduct this short story at the 12th grade student of SMA Negeri 8 Selayar. Part B, Problem Statement. According to the background explanation above, the researcher would like to formulate a research question as follows. Does the use of short story develops critical reading comprehension of 12th grade student of SMA Negeri 8 Selayar? C. Objective of the research. Based on the research problem above, the researcher intends to find out whether the use of short stories develops critical reading comprehension of 12th grade student at SMA Negeri 8 Selayar. D. Significance of the research. The study is expected to bring benefits. 1. Theoretical significance. This research is expected to provide information and become a relevant reference on how effective the short stories is in the process of teaching English, especially critical reading comprehension. 2. Practical significance. A. For the students, B. For the English teacher, C. For the next researchers. Chapter 2, Literature Review, Part A, Some Pertinent Ideas. 1. Reading Comprehension. A. Definition. Otto Wayne states, reading comprehension is as an interaction between do and language. It means that a reading encounter can generate a do, and then we are thinking and we have a question to ask someone, which is referred to as language. B. The kind of reading comprehension. Reading comprehension was divided into 4 categories by Pearson and Nicholson: literal reading, interpretative reading, critical reading, and creative reading. C. Strategies for reading comprehension. According to Douglas Brown, there are 4 strategies that students should understand if they want to improve their reading comprehension. Each of the strategies can provide useful tips on what they should do when reading English text. The strategies are as follows. First, determining the purpose of reading. Second, applying graphemic rules and patterns to bottom-up decoding, or especially for the beginning level learners. Third, Using effective silent reading techniques, relatively rapid comprehension is achieved or for intermediate to advanced level. For scanning the text for key ideas. The second, short stories. A. Definition. Short stories are one type of literature. A short story is a brief work of prose narrative, writes Macmillan. It means that a short story is a short prose narrative that can be read in a short amount of time. In other words, the reader does not need to spend much time understand what the short story is about. Lazar states, a short story is a work of fiction. It tells a single event in a very concentrated manner, describes something in the midst of a crisis, introduces people who are said not to exist, and has a plot and characters who are somehow connected with one another. B. The elements of short stories. The researcher describes elements present solely in Gordon and Kinner's book in this study. The elements are as follows. First, plot. Second, setting. Third, character. Fourth, tone and point of view. Fifth, theme. Sixth, style. C. The advantage of short stories. There are some advantages to using short stories, according to Patton and Aldersi in their journal. They are as follows. First, short stories are thought to be extremely useful research material in EFL classrooms because they provide rich linguistic input, effective stimuli for students to express themselves in other language, and a potential source of learner motivation. Second, they can serve as the primary teaching material in a reading comprehension class, as well as supplement the primary course materials for in-class and out-of-class activities of foreign language teaching, learning, and practice. This aspect can be used in the classroom by EFL teachers for the same purpose. Third, because they provide authentic context for processing new language, stories can be more beneficial than any other informational material in stimulating the acquisition process. As a result, they should play an important role in the teaching material chosen by EFL teachers to teach reading comprehension. B. Hypothesis. The hypothesis of this research can be formulated as follows. Hypothesis 1. There is progress in using short stories to develop students of critical reading comprehension. Null hypothesis. There is no progress in using short stories to develop students of critical reading comprehension. Chapter 3. Research Method. Part A. Research Design. The research design used by the researcher in this study is pre-experimental, which is one group pre-test, post-test design. The researcher will give a pre-test and post-test in one group to be studied to test the success of short story in increasing students' critical reading comprehension. B. Population and sample. First, population. The population of this study is 84 students at the 12th grade student of SMA Negeri 8 Selayar. There are 3 classes. There are 2 classes of MIA 1 and MIA 2, and there are 1 classes of IIS 1. Second, sample. In this research, the researcher will use cluster random sampling technique. Cluster random sampling is used to determine the sample which are not individuals, but small unit groups. The researcher will select one out of the 3 classes randomly as the sample of this research. The class they will use a sample is IIS 1, in which the number of students is 25. C. Research variables and operational definition of the variables. First, independent variable is the use of short stories. Fiction short story is defined as a learning strategy to critical reading comprehension. Second, dependent variable. The dependent variable in this research is students' critical reading comprehension. Development of critical reading through aspects assessment, value accuracy, and truthfulness. D. Research instrument. The researcher will use a test or reading test. The test will be given twice, namely pretest and posttest. The pretest will be given to students at the first meeting or before treatment. It aims to measure the level of students' reading knowledge using conventional methods so far. The posttest will be given to students at the last meeting or after being given treatment. It aims to see the success or failure of this research. E. Procedure of collecting data. The procedure of collecting data consists of a pretest, treatment, and posttest. The type of test they will use is multiple choice and arranged words. Tests will give to students and collected to obtain objective data on students' reading development based on the use of the source stories. F. Treatment. The procedure of treatment can be follows. First, the researcher distributes a source story to the students. Second, the researcher asks the students to read the source story. Third, the researcher asks the students to translate a few paragraphs from the story. Fourth, the researcher asks the students to find out some difficult words on the text. Fifth, the researcher asks the students to make a Q&A using the literature question and the true or false question in groups. Sixth, the researcher asks students to answer questions using inferential questions in groups. The last technique of data analysis. First, scoring students' correct answer. Second, classifying the students' score. Third, students' mean score. Fourth, standard deviation. Fifth, gain score. And the last, hypothesis. That's all my research proposal presentation. Thanks for your attention and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.